Can stress cause eczema? How do your thoughts impact your skin health? Hi, my name is Dr. Sarah and I am a naturopathic doctor specializing in dermatology. I've always said that the two biggest factors in healing your body and healing your skin are the foods you eat and the thoughts you think, aka your diet and stress. Today we are diving in deep and taking a look at exactly how stress affects eczema and your skin health. I've struggled with chronic eczema for many years, and a huge part in healing my eczema was managing my stress and changing the thoughts that I had about myself and my skin. So that's what I want to talk about with you today. What is stress? A lot of times people think of stress in the form of a stressful or traumatic event like loss of a loved one, going through a difficult divorce, loss of a job or financial hardship, or even having panic attacks. But stress can come in all sorts of shapes and forms, and it doesn't always have to be in the form of this big stressful event. Oftentimes this stress can also appear as worry or anxiety, a sense of overwhelm or unease, even just irritability and getting easily bothered by things. In the clinic, I used to ask my patients how they would rate their stress on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most stress. And a lot of times they would rate their stress as fairly low or maybe just moderate. And it was because the way they were thinking of stress as it had to be this really huge thing that they were feeling super stressed every day. And I noticed that when I stopped asking it that way and asked, well, what are the thoughts that you think about, like how do you feel about your skin? Oftentimes they had negative thoughts about their skin. They were dissatisfied with where their skin was at, really wished it to be different, and just kind of a lot of negative thoughts about it and insecurities. That is also a huge part here in stress and kind of the thoughts that you think and how you can address those to really find true healing. So now that we're kind of thinking about stress in those terms, what happens to your body when you are stressed? Stress puts your body in a sympathetic state, which is the body's fight or flight state. When this occurs, the stress hormone cortisol is released. We see an increase in heart rate, an increase in respiration, the blood vessels dilate, and the pupils dilate. And all of this is really important because there are times when you have some sort of acute stressor coming at you or towards you, and you need to be able to respond quickly and be in an alert and heightened state of awareness. For example, if a car is about to crash into you, you need to be able to look around really fast and decide what to do in that moment to avoid a collision. But the issue here is when we kind of have this kind of chronic low level of stress that is keeping the body in the sympathetic state when there's not an actual real threat to you, but the body is still perceiving something as being a threat. So it's keeping you in this fight or flight response. And one of the negative things of that is that it inhibits your digestion and salivation. It also inhibits growth and tissue repair. And it really impacts your quality of sleep. Now let's talk about more effects of cortisol on the body and the skin. Cortisol is going to suppress your immune system. It's going to increase inflammation, and it's also going to increase sebum production. So that plays more of a part in acne. So a lot of times when people are feeling stressed, their acne can worsen, as well as seborrheic dermatitis, because those are both related to that increased sebum production. In eczema with stress, it's thought that neuropeptides are upregulated in the brain and organs, and these can directly affect sensory nerves in the skin that regulate inflammation and the skin barrier function. Both of these are two of the key kind of contributing factors of eczema, is that inflammation and your skin barrier. These neuropeptides can also increase pruritus or itchiness, which worsens eczema. It is also associated with a poor quality of life, poor quality of sleep, and depression. So then that kind of just starts another sort of little cycle here where you're feeling stressed out, that causes worsening of your eczema, it causes worsening of the itchiness, and then you have the itch scratch cycle. It really can kind of quickly turn into a downward hill. What is psychodermatology? So psychodermatology is the connection between the mind and the skin. And there are 3 different types of psychodermatological conditions or diseases. The first one is psychosomatic disorders. Psychosomatic disorders are dermatological diseases which can be exacerbated or worsened by emotional stress, but are not caused directly by stress. So emotional stress can exacerbate many different skin conditions such as eczema, psoriasis, acne, alopecia areata, a type of hair loss, and rosacea. stigmata. And then we have secondary psychiatric disorders. Secondary psychiatric disorders appear as a result of a certain disfiguring skin condition that induces psychologic suffering such as loss of self-confidence, anxiety, and social phobia. This category includes diseases like psoriasis, chronic eczema, severe acne, as well as some other less common skin conditions. So with these conditions, you have your presentation of eczema, for example, and with it being on the skin that people see, that causes you to then have more feelings of low self-confidence and social phobia, wanting to be more closed off, and that can kind of just still perpetuate the symptoms here. And that was definitely the case for me, especially in high school when I was having a big flare-up of eczema. It definitely caused me to have lower self-esteem and self-worth, and I was just more closed off and just shy and didn't want to be like the center of attention. Now let's talk a little bit more about how thoughts and negative thoughts can impact eczema in your skin. So like I said, I was pretty insecure about my skin for a long time. It really impacted my self-confidence and self-worth. I didn't want people to notice me and then notice my skin rashes and think differently of me. I was kind of closed off with friends, and I didn't date for a really long time because I didn't think that someone, once they saw who I really was and my skin fully, that they would really accept me as I am and love me as I am. And I think that's really because at the time I didn't feel that about myself. It really had nothing to do with these other people that I knew or that I dated. They were all nice, normal people. But it was really the thoughts that I had about myself and about my skin. Even after my skin started improving, because I was doing a bunch of different things, I still had feelings that I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough for someone, or my skin still wasn't perfect enough. So back to kind of my history with eczema and stress and your thoughts and kind of them being related but also a little bit different. So with the stress question, I never really had any major stressors happen in my life. I've never really lost someone really close to me at a young age besides a grandparent. I've never really had anything bad or traumatic happen to me besides having eczema. There would be times where I would get more stressed out, of course, like during finals or when I was applying to colleges or interviews, little stressors like that, which is normal. But I've never had any really big stressors. So for me, it was really more focusing on just my thoughts, my insecurities that I had about myself and my skin, and trying to heal those. I think sometimes healing the stress part can be a little bit easier because when you kind of get rid of the stressor or process through it, then that maybe could be easier with time. But correcting your thoughts and changing your thoughts about yourself, I feel like can be a little bit more difficult sometimes. So one place to start is being okay with where you are at in this very moment, because that's all you can do, really. You can't change anything in this exact moment besides how you think about something. And each day you can become more aware of your thoughts and more aware of the thoughts that you think about yourself specifically and about your skin. And then you can get better at, if you notice a thought coming up about yourself and it's negative, you can get better at first allowing it to be and then getting better at being more kind to yourself. And even just become more aware about how you talk about your skin. So if someone's asking you like, oh, how are you doing? And you say, oh, my eczema is really bad right now. Sometimes that can be, without you realizing it, have a negative impact on your eczema. Because it's not that your eczema is bad, because your skin is doing exactly what it needs to be doing with everything that is going on in your life and everything that's going on in your skin. So I think changing the way you talk about that is important, and just actually appreciating what your skin does for you. It's your protection from the external environment, and it does have that barrier from the external to your internal world. And that's a big job. Your skin is your largest organ. It's got a lot of surface area to cover over your whole body. It's really doing the best that it can do with all of the pieces going on here. So I think just having more appreciation for your skin is another great step towards kind of healing your stress and healing how you think about your skin. And that's also the good news with stress or your thoughts, is that you can control it. So everybody has stress. Stressors are normal. Sometimes they're big and sometimes they're smaller. And while you can't necessarily control like what stressors are going to come into your life day to day or month to month, what you can control is how you choose to respond and react to these stressors. How are you choosing to deal with the stress in your life? How are you reacting to it? You have control over your thoughts and emotions. It's not always easy, especially in the beginning if you haven't really thought about this very much, but you can still have an emotional response to something and maybe be in that state for a minute or two, or however long you need. But once you kind of get past that initial reaction of something, you can choose how you want to feel about it. And if you're having a big flare-up of your eczema right now, which obviously I've been there, it's very difficult. And sometimes I just cry all day and I'm upset about it. But that doesn't do anything that's really going to be healing towards your skin or towards your body. So being able to switch that and be like, you know what, it's okay. It's okay where I'm at. And I'm just going to try to do better, being nicer to myself, treating my body better, and changing my thoughts about my skin and not feeling like this is something that's really bad that's happening, because that all of a sudden just causes more inflammation and more just tense and like stress in your actual body. But being okay with it and just accepting your skin as you are and just practicing self-care and self-love. You can choose to be happy or sad about it. So being sad about it isn't going to help, but being happy about it or just finding happiness in other areas of your life, then that's going to help. And over time, it's going to get easier and you're going to get better at it, and it's going to be worth it. So this video, I just wanted to mainly touch on how stress is actually impacting your skin. And it's not just something that's kind of fluffy and non-concrete. There are concrete things that are happening in your physiology of your cells when you are being stressed out, and that's having a direct impact on your skin. So it's super important to be aware of this and to address it, and that's a huge way how you're gonna find natural healing, is healing your thoughts that you have about your skin. And I really can't stress this enough. It was huge for me, and now I've been able to, after healing like my thoughts about my skin and myself, I've been able now to like incorporate more foods that were I was more sensitive to and inflammatory for me. I can eat some of those in moderation. And I think that's because I've done the actual true healing of when I was having a flare-up or a rash, of being okay with it and using that as a tool and a sign that I need to show more love to myself and more self-care. You know, just a reminder to manage your stress. There's mind-body medicine out there, practicing your self-care. There's also cognitive behavioral therapy can be really helpful for people. Progressive muscle relaxation, diaphragmatic breathing, anything that's really going to get your body back into a parasympathetic state, and you're going to be able to kind of calm down your nervous system, and that's going to help calm down your skin as well. And then just practicing more mindfulness. You can do different meditations and relaxations. And actually, one of my next videos, I'm going to be making a meditation specifically for healing your skin and healing how you think about your skin. So be sure to stay tuned for that coming soon, because I think that's going to be really helpful if you don't kind of know where to get started with this. We'll see you in the next video.